to Bata Goodbyes. Each week on our show, we spotlight species from the IUCN Critically Endangered Red List. These are plants and animals with decreasing populations, nearing the edges of extinction. So we'll share species research, information, and conservation proposals. And then we'll spend part of the show opening a space for contemplation and awe. We'll perform a soundscape of gentleness, of reflection and delight, and perhaps of grieving. Without conservation activity and significant societal shift, many of these species may not survive the 21st century. And so perhaps we might acknowledge their journey with a moment of our attention, a recognition of our kinship, and with a commitment to personal and systemic change. Thank you for listening. On today's show, we consider the Northern River Terrapin. The Northern River Terrapin is a critically endangered reptile native to South Asia in the Sundarbans, in the Ganges River Delta in India and Bangladesh. Its scientific name is Batagur baska, and it was first described in 1830. The Northern River Terrapin is one of the largest river turtles in Asia. Their carapace, that is their upper shell, can reach lengths of 2 feet, and they can weigh up to 40 pounds. Carapace is smooth, relatively flattened, streamlined, and only slightly domed, colored deep olive green, gray, and reddish brown. The plastron, the flat bottom shell that covers the terrapin's underside, is pale yellow, yellowish orange, or creamy off-white. Because of phrases like "a turtle carries its home on its back," and perhaps simply because of their appearance, we may think of the shell as somehow separate from the animal. But in fact, it is the animal itself. The terrapin is not inside their shell. The shell is their body. A terrapin could no more leave their shell than you or I could leave our spine or rib cage. The shell is living, growing bone covered in layers of keratin called scutes. Keratin is the same protein that makes up our finger and toenails. So the shell grows along with the terrapin throughout their entire life. It is living tissue with blood vessels and nerves. This means that the terrapin can feel touch, tactile sensation on their shell. It is not just armor, but also a sense organ that aids in spatial navigation. this also means that damage to the shell, scratches, cracks, or punctures, can be a very serious injury, causing pain and potentially leading to life-threatening infections, like a broken bone might in our species. Northern River Terrapin spend most of their time in the water. And so their four limbs are somewhat flattened and kind of paddle-like, adapted for swimming. The forefeet and hind feet are webbed and clawed. Webbed, again for swimming, clawed for locomotion on land, for digging, and for manipulating food. They have a short tail that is thick at the base and tapers to a tip. Their neck is long and muscular, and the terrapin can retract its neck and head to be protected by their shell. Their head is fairly small, and they have an upturned snout with nostrils at the very tip, allowing them to breathe while almost entirely submerged, able to hide from predators underwater and still take in air. I should note, as a reptile, they breathe surface air into their lungs. They do not have, gills. They do not have teeth. Instead, their mouth is more like a serrated beak that shears, like scissors, through their mainly vegetative diet. Their skin is thick and covered in scales that vary in size, small and fused tightly on the head, larger and more overlapping on their limbs. Their skin is generally greenish brown, but in the males, coloration shifts dramatically during breeding season. Breeding season is December to March, during which the male Northern River Terrapin's endocrine system produces increased levels of melanin, skin pigmentation, that shifts the coloration of parts of the male's head and neck to a deep black, and the lower parts of the neck and the forelimbs to an extraordinarily bright red, orangish pink. And the male's eye color also changes from a dark brown to bright yellowish white. This is called nuptial coloration and is likely used to attract mates in the low visibility waters of their habitat. So the Northern River Terrapin spends most of the year in freshwater rivers and estuaries, and then in the breeding season makes a 50 to 60 mile migration downriver to the brackish waters and sandy beaches at the mouth of the sea, returning to the same sites year after year. Courtship includes visual signals, like the male's coloration, physical signals, like head swaying and throat pumping, chemical signals, pheromones, and social signals, like paired basking. The Northern River Terrapin is ectothermic, cold-blooded. They rely on the sun's heat to drive their metabolism and spend long parts of the daytime sunning, basking on banks or logs or exposed stones, generally in large social groups. But during courtship, researchers have observed potential mates basking together in discrete pairs as a kind of precursor to mating. After mating, the female will leave the water for the beach, dig a nest in the sand, roughly a foot deep, well above the high tide line, roughly 20 feet from the water, into which she lays a clutch of about 25 eggs. She then covers the nest with sand and uses her plastron, the flat bottom of her shell, to tamp down the sand and smooth it over in hopes of camouflaging the nest from potential predators. She then returns to the water, and she and the males will begin migrating back upstream to their freshwater habitat. The young are born precocial. They do not need parental care. So the eggs incubate underground for roughly 2 to 3 months. And then, as the time to hatch grows near, roughly a week before emergence, the young begin to vocalize, making low-frequency sounds from within their shells, clicks, chirps, and tones, in communication with their nestmates, their siblings. Acoustic research has found that this communication is used to coordinate synchronized hatching. All of the young break from their shells at roughly the same time. That timing is crucial because the hatchlings, each only about 2 inches in length, are under a foot of sand. So upon hatching, the new young collaborate in social digging. Hatchlings at the top of the group scrape sand from the ceiling of the nest. Those below pack the fallen sand beneath them, digging, packing, climbing in a group to the fresh air at the surface. This is a feat of physical exertion that would be impossible for a single individual alone. Hence, the synchronized hatching. Once above ground, they immediately move to the nearest waterway, again in a group. This behavior is called predator swamping, a kind of safety in numbers. By making a coordinated move to the water, the grouping ensures that at least some will survive possible predation by monitor lizards or birds of prey, whereas single individuals could easily be preyed upon. In their early life, the young remain in the brackish tidal waters of the river mouth, feeding on greens like water spinach and taro leaves, and sea vegetables and small crustaceans. grow and mature, they gradually make their way upstream to their freshwater habitats. The Northern River Terrapin can take as many as 25 years to reach sexual maturity and are believed to live as long as 100 years. In the dream, headed downriver, going home. Home to the beach where I was born. Cruising the river with the downstream currents, I know the way well. Feel it deep inside me. And as the waters get salty, I feel a lift, lightness, buoyancy. Going home. I'm going home. In the dream. The Northern River Terrapin is native to South Asia, India and Bangladesh, in the Sundarbans, at the Ganges River Delta, where the Ganges and the Brahmaputra rivers empty into the Bay of Bengal. The Sundarbans span the border of India and Bangladesh and are a transitional ecosystem of tidal estuaries, tributaries, river channels, and 100+ islands of various size. The low-lying land is marked by salt-tolerant forests, mudflats, beaches, barrens, and lands converted for agriculture. It is home to the world's largest mangrove forest, which spans nearly 4,000 square miles. This is an ecosystem shaped by the tides. Tides which can rise and fall up to 16 feet at their springtime peak near the delta's mouth, and can affect river levels and salinity of the terrapin's upstream habitat too, as the tidal effects can reach as far as 180 miles upstream from the coast. This water itself is often cloudy, muddy, and brackish as the rise and fall reshapes banks and beaches, reveals sandbars and mudflats, and shifts soil of clay and silt. The climate is tropical with seasonal monsoons. In summer, highs average in the mid-90s Fahrenheit, and it's hot and humid. In winter, the lows average in the mid-50s Fahrenheit, and it is drier and crisp, with morning mists from the bay blanketing the delta. Then in monsoon season, this is June to September, we see up to 60 inches of rain, roughly 80% of the region's annual total. This inundation of fresh water has profound effect upon water salinity throughout the delta and erodes and reshapes the topography of the Sundarbans. The Northern River Terrapin shares the Sundarbans with Indian mangrove, saltwater crocodile, spotted deer, osprey, wild boar, rhesus monkey, Sundari mangrove, monitor lizard, white-bellied sea eagle, brown-winged kingfisher, mud skipper, fiddler crab, Indian beach, smooth-coated otter, masked finfoot, Brahminy kite, horseshoe crab, Nipa palm, royal Bengal tiger, yellow mangrove, crested serpent eagle, and many, many more. Historically, the Northern River Terrapin was considered thriving, common, and abundant in the early 1900s. But over the last 200 years, they were hunted to the brink of extinction, human predation, adults captured for their meat, eggs taken from nests for food. The terrapin return to the same nest sites each year and move rather slowly on land, making egg theft and hunting relatively easy. And so by the mid-20th century, Northern River terrapin consumption had escalated into an industrial scale operation with tens of thousands of individuals and eggs taken and exported from the Sundarbans to be sold in fish markets across the region. Due to this excessive overharvesting, the Northern River terrapin population collapsed. And by the mid-1970s, capture and trade of the species was entirely outlawed. Illegal poaching continued, and by the late 1990s, researchers believed that there were less than a few dozen terrapin left. In 2008, a captive breeding program was established. And in 2010, at the Vienna Zoo, the first Northern River Terrapin young was successfully hatched in captivity. This led to local breeding programs in both India and Bangladesh that also have been wildly successful. Across multiple programs, recent estimates suggest that there are over 500 individuals in these captive programs, meaning there are more Northern River terrapin in captivity than in the wild. Today, a coordinated conservation plan, the Batagur Baska Vision Plan 2030, is being implemented by a partnership between the West Bengal Forest Department, Turtle Survival Alliance India, and the People's Trust for Endangered Species. The program recently released 20 individuals, some tagged with radio trackers, and plans to return another 10 individuals to the Sundarbans this spring, spring 2026. Nevertheless, the Northern River Terrapin has been considered critically endangered on the IUCN Red List since 2018, and their population is in decline. Our most recent counts estimate that less than 100 Northern River Terrapin remain in the wild. Information for today's show about the Northern River Terrapin was compiled from Herpetological Conservation and Biology, Volume 16, Number 2, from Global Ecology and Conservation, Volume 62, from Herpetological Journal, Volume 2, Number 4, from Shalonian Conservation and Biology, Volume 22, Number 1, from Ecology and Evolution, Volume 14, from Molecular Biology Reports, Volume 53, from the Dhaka University Journal of Biological Sciences, Volume 31, Number 1, from bioRxiv 2025, from the People's Trust for Endangered Species, from the IUCN, from Salamandra, Volume 54, Number 1, from the Sundarbans Tiger Reserve Annual Report 2022-23, from the International Zoo Yearbook, Volume 49, and from Wikipedia. For more information about Northern River Terrapin conservation, please see the People's Trust for Endangered Species at ptes.org. In a moment, I would like to perform some music in hopes of making space to be in contemplation of the other beings with whom we share our earth, like the Northern River Terrapin. I do not intend to force meaning upon or extract meaning from the Northern River Terrapin. Instead, I want this music to simply express my awe for all life. I will pause in the space of sound and reflection, and I warmly invite you to join me. honor the life force of the Northern River Terrapin. I will commit its name to my record. I am so grateful to have shared time on our planet with this beautiful being. And I lament the ways in which I and my species have harmed and diminished this species. I grieve. And so in the name of the Northern River Terrapin, I pledge to reduce my consumption, my carbon footprint, and my wastefulness. I pledge to acknowledge and attempt to address the costs of my actions and inactions. And I pledge to resist the harm of plant and animal kin and their habitats by individuals, corporations, and governments. I forever pledge my song to the witness and memory of all life, to a broad celebration of biodiversity, and to the total liberation of all beings. This has been Bad Goodbyes. Thank you for listening. Until next time, let's take care of each other and all of our kin.